Hello, I am Disparu, and we all know that the Cyberpunk launch was a disaster. Now, I wasn't making videos back then, but I was wrapped up in that disaster. I bought the game and then never played it. Because the reputation, the reviews, the sheer car crash that was that launch meant that I didn't want to spoil the game for myself. I thought I'll wait for it to be actually finished. Can't take that long, surely. They'll work on it, they'll fix it, and I'll play it then. And yet, here we are 10 months later. And we're still getting things like this, where what is described as the largest patch to come out, the most notable feature of which is adjustments to the minimap. They have to forgive me, but I was under the impression that there were far, far more significant problems with the game than something as small as fixing the minimap. Something that should just be down as a side note at the bottom of the patch notes, along with the rest of the crap that nobody really cares about. This is a game where the police wouldn't even chase you. I'm sure there's bigger fish to fry than fiddling around with the corner of the screen. And yet, this isn't their only issue, because the only thing worse than having a disaster like that and not learning any lessons from it at all are learning the wrong lessons. And that's what we've got when it comes to the next generation releases. Because they had an investor call recently. And while this title actually says that they're being a lot more careful about announcing the release dates for them, they're not really, and I'm not really sure that's what you should care about in the first place. Because he says this: our target to release the next generation versions of Cyberpunk is later this year. However, at the same time, keeping in mind the lessons we have learned during the last year, the project remains in development, and so we can't say with full certainty that the production schedule will not change. So you have to remember that the thing that they specifically mentioned that they learned about Cyberpunk is that actually we may need to delay the game. And yet here we are, 10 months after launch, and it's still not ready. The game was already delayed multiple times. The reason it was launched in the state it was is because they delayed it so many times, it became ludicrous, and they simply couldn't delay it anymore. It was unfeasible. And even if they delayed it till now, it still would have been in a state to the point where when I still ask anyone, have they fixed it to the point I should play it? The answer is no, you should probably wait more. The lesson that you should have learned from that launch wasn't that delays were the right answer. Because even when you launched it, the question everyone had on their mind is, if this is the state that it's in after multiple delays, how bad was it when you said you were going to launch it in the first time? The lesson you should have learned isn't that delays were good because they didn't fix anything. The lesson you should have learned is that you set a time that is actually reasonable for you to complete the game, and then you actually release it on that time. It's normal for people who actually set dates for projects to build in time for errors. But no one could have built in multiple years thinking that you were going to take that much longer. And if there is a point, if you actually think as developers that we making a game and it could take us multiple more years to finish it, then you just shouldn't announce one, because you actually have no idea. If your time from actual possible launch to actual launch is years, then really, I'd probably get a different project manager, but also I'd keep my mouth shut until I was ready to actually give a date, because you're not. And it gets even more insane, because we've just learned that Cyberpunk are actually hiring modders to fix the game. Now, on its own, I actually think this is a great job interview, because they've already seen the finished work. They know they can get it out on a timely schedule, and they know that unlike themselves, the modders actually make stuff that works. But the question that I have is, it's been 10 months since launch, and now you're hiring more people to fix the game if you needed more manpower. Don't you think that you probably should have hired them, I don't know, several years ago? It seems bizarre to me that to fix the game, you're hiring people 10 months after you've already launched it. I don't know what kind of priority that really shows for your company, but I'm not sure it's a good one. Like, at the end of the day, I know it's a very big stereotype, is it? What are you doing? It can't be that hard. But when it comes to the next generation release, all you're doing is turning up the graphics settings. Those graphic settings already exist for PC. The work has already been done. What are you doing? And I think that sums up the game for me at this point. I've already waited 10 months. And I don't really expect to play it anytime soon. I don't expect them to fix it anytime soon. This has gone from just being a normal disaster. It's now turned into such a long-winded disaster, and they're still making the same mistakes. They still think, oh yeah, we'll just delay it and it'll all be fine. It's now turned from just some kind of car crash television into a comedy. That's how much this is. That's how insane this entire situation has been. The order that you've done it in, the way you've hired people. And I've never seen a company change so much so quickly. Everyone was so pleased with The Witcher 3. The handling you did with The Witcher 3, the DLC you produced. You were gaming's little darling. And that is why Cyberpunk was so hyped up. And yes, maybe it was overhyped. But even if it hadn't been, people still would have had the same reaction to the game just for the state it was in, just missing even basic features like police that move. So there comes a point where your entire game is laughable. To the point where I actually don't even hold out much hope that it'll be finished, and you can come out and say that no, we really care about this game, we care about this franchise, and we want to get it to work. But we live in a time where actions actually matter. And yes, you're hiring people, but if those people don't actually pump out content, in 10 years, I expect to see significant improvement, hear about significant improvement, and what I got was an expanded minimap. Even if I was writing a parody of your company, I couldn't have written anything as bad as that. Honestly, I don't know what to think about Cyberpunk. For me, I'm just kind of writing it off. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, this game might actually be finished. But as far until then, until something significant changes when in regards to this game, I'm just letting it sit there and rot. But for now, that's it from me. If you liked the video, press like and subscribe for more videos in the future. And let me know what you think of the entire Cyberpunk situation down below. Are you looking forward to the next generation release, whenever that turns out to be, in this year or the next? Let me know down below. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.